Welcome back, Chaos fans, to another edition of Conversational Chaos, the intelligent ramblings between Jason and the Rage Monster, which is me, and that is Jason over there.
Good morning.
Oh, wow. That is some super high energy. I can't wait.
That's my serious radio voice.
I'm going to get blown out over here.
It's intense.
It is. Super intense. So, we just had our Australian episode. Haven't seen the numbers on that yet, so I don't know how that's going to go. But that was a lot of fun. That was a fun episode to do. And I hope that we get a good response from our friends down under.
See, I think if we were more professional, we could have really blown this out of the water. Because I don't know if you saw in the news, I think we could have scheduled a very special guest.
Ooh.
But I think we missed our chance, which is unfortunate. Because we don't plan. We're not that big of thinkers here. Last week, the Australian Prime Minister was in Maryland, meeting with the governor.
Kidding.
Yep.
We totally
should have had him on the show.
Absolutely, we could have had him on.
I think it would have just required like an email. I think we could have met him at like the library or something. I think we could have pulled that off.
We would have met him at the local Starbucks, but knowing how the Australians feel about their Starbucks,
I can't go to Starbucks either.
I love the smell. Like I said, I love the smell. I can't stand the company, and I can't stand the taste of coffee. So
there's also it got recommended to me on my YouTube feed why Australians hate coffee or hate Starbucks.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Now that's creepy.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of weird recommendations like that disturb me.
It is a little disturbing.
It's a little bit too close to home. Oh, but I did see in the internet. Can't trust that anyways. But new ways that they're using to track your phone. So during commercials, they play like a ultrasonic sound in the background that you can't hear, that your phone will pick up because it's in your pocket. And then they use that to link your phone to whatever commercials you're watching on TV.
This is a great segue. I mean, I don't know if we want to get into this right away, because this is actually the serious thing that I was thinking of this morning as a topic. You know, my best thinking's always done in the shower at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And so this morning I was thinking
You a morning showerer?
Yeah.
Do you shower in the evening too?
Only if I've exercised, yes. If not, then no, I don't. Are you a morning showerer?
Only when I feel the need to be extra clean.
Such a weird word, showerer.
One who showers.
I know. Wouldn't that be a showeree?
You would be the showeree.
What's the showerer? The actual shower head?
That's the action. I don't know.
So the shower head is the showerer, and the person in the shower is the showeree.
The person getting wet is the showeree.
Okay.
The showerer is the type of person. It's the descriptor.
Okay. So I was thinking about 1984.
1984, the book?
The book.
Or the year?
The book.
Because there were the Olympics in 1984, right?
There were Olympics in 1984. That was the Los Angeles Summer Olympics were in 84, weren't they?
I think so. That's when they had the winter and the summer at the same time back then, right? It wasn't until the 90s that they split.
Yes, they still had them in the same year. Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't until 92. I think it was the first time. It was the first year that they had.
I think so.
Summer and winter were separated.
Right, because the football players wanted to push the bobsled.
And that's really, sadly, again, America sticking their nose in, making everybody do what we want them to do. So I was thinking of 1984, yes. Not the year, the book.
Okay.
And you've read 1984.
I have. It was very good. I thoroughly enjoyed that book. It was a gift.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it a gift from me?
No.
Oh, that's weird.
No.
Because I've actually read that book, and I really enjoyed it. I will say it's one of those books where at the end you think to yourself, man, it's like a snuff film. I mean, you feel bad for Winston the entire book. I mean,
I guess so.
It's nice when he's in his happy relationship with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But the fact that he basically gets tortured into submission.
Yeah, you kind of skip through that part.
That's the end. That's how it ends.
Yeah, you breeze through there.
So that got me thinking about Ingsoc and Big Brother and all other kind of stuff. It got me thinking, in the country of China, they are actually trying to institute, this is state sanctions, this is government sanctioned monitoring of every Chinese citizen. So they want to develop what they called a citizen score for people. So
I did see this.
Yes, it's for people who, if you buy things that the regime likes, or if you block the doors of the subway train, or if you make certain political comments on social media apps, they take all of that information and they basically aggregate it and come out with some silly score that rates you. And that score is going to dictate things like your ability to travel outside of the country, to get a visa to go outside of the country. It's going to affect your ability to travel within the country. It's going to affect your ability to buy certain things. Like if you buy alcohol or video games, the regime sees that as bad, so therefore it's going to lower your citizen score.
Yeah.
But if you buy things like diapers and make positive, social media posts about the government, it's going to increase your citizen score. And I think that is so scary. And it's not even just the monitoring of their social habits. It's the idea that they want to. I read an article this morning about it. There are already 176 million cameras in China that are basically owned and operated in some way by the government. So whether it's the public safety, so it's the police, or it's the actual army or whatever.
Yeah. By
2020, they want 450 million cameras operated by these groups.
How many people are in China?
1.38 billion. So
that's not that many cameras. Every one of those probably has a cell phone. They've got all those cameras.
Well, and that's the other thing is that the Chinese government certain ethnic groups of Chinese people, because not all Chinese people are all the same. There are different ethnic groups in China. Certain ethnic groups within China are forced to load tracking apps onto their phone so the government can watch literally everything that they do. But the really funny thing about this whole, tracking, facial recognition and, citizen score and all that kind of stuff is that in the country of China, things like Facebook, Google, the Washington Post, for instance, all censored. So I don't even think you can use Google in China. And I don't think you can use Facebook in China. Not technically legally. I think you can get to it, but you have to go through a VPN in a roundabout way. Using a VPN also lowers your citizen score, by the way. But companies like Facebook and Google have actually gone to the Chinese government and told them, hey, you want to monitor your citizens? We'll help you do that. So they're helping the Chinese government develop ways to not only facially recognize every single one of their citizens, but to monitor literally everything that they do, whether they're online or offline. And that should be scary to you. That should be scary to everybody. The fact that we know that they're doing this anyway, like you said, the high frequency thing that your phone recognizes and it changes the ads on your phone.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. So they already do this kind of stuff here, and we know that.
Yeah, but I think that whatever they're selling to China, they're already using it here. We just don't know about it.
Well, we do kind of know about it. We know that and it's obvious.
It's not in the news like it is.
Yeah, if you're at home.
Chinese, they're up to...
Chinese Google, are up to no good.
Shame on you in China, but you're such a good guy here.
Well, apparently
Thank you for stealing all my emails.
There's an area in China now where they're kind of testing a lot of this facial recognition stuff. And one of the things that they do, and this is hilarious, is if you are a jaywalker, say you jaywalk.
Yeah.
And the camera catches you, and apparently there's cameras everywhere in this particular place, so it catches everything. It will literally take your face and it plasters it up on a screen in a public area with your name and everything, and it basically shames you and says, hey, Jason just jaywalked. What an idiot. And it's in front of everybody.
Thanks, now my name's all over the internet.
Yeah, your name is going to be totally all over the internet.
But that's only going to work for so long because shame will go away after you use it too much.
Well, especially after you realize that everybody does it.
Yeah. Hey, I was on there 3 times last week. What'd you get?
Yeah, woohoo!
4.
Yeah, yay! It'll be a competition.
Yeah.
Well, China is more of a shame culture. Middle East is like that too. It's very shame-based, a lot of things. So, whereas here, it's kind of not.
It probably used to be. Not quite to that extent, but...
the Scarlet Letter. I mean, you read that, I would assume,
I
in
didn't read
school.
that.
You never read that?
No,
It was,
we didn't read that kind of stuff in
it
school.
was all about shame. That's
Yeah.
really what the Scarlet Letter is all about. And it was...
Well, I know what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that time of American history, pre-colonial time, so
Yeah.
settlement era, and definitely during the colonial period, shame was still a thing. I mean, that's what the stocks were all about.
Yeah.
It was about publicly shaming somebody for doing something wrong. So in cultures like in the Middle East and
Imagine if they did that today. You're speeding, you got to go spend 15 minutes in the stocks. Imagine that might cut down on a lot of things. Not because you're shamed, but just like, I got to take 15 minutes out of my day to go stand in the stocks.
Exactly. It's not. It wouldn't have any.
For this,
it wouldn't have
coffee.
exactly. It wouldn't have anything to do with shame. It would have everything to do with your desire not to want to spend 15 minutes in the stocks.
Yeah.
So,
that would be fun.
But I think that it's still a shame-based culture over there. So I think that people, family shaming is like a big deal. And you look at countries like North Korea. I mean, the mere fact that they have a 3-generation punishment system. So if you go out and, commit some crime, burglary, or, you shoplift or something, not only will you get in trouble, but if you have children, so your children would get in trouble, and your parents would get in trouble, and if your grandparents were still alive, they would get in trouble, and if your kids had children, they would get in trouble too. And that's a totally crazy system.
It's probably good to punish the parents. That's where it came from anyways.
So
if you should stand in the stocks holding hands.
Yeah, but the problem is they don't send them to the stocks. They send them to labor camps where they die.
They'll come back again.
Exactly. So I just thought that was a really interesting, it just kind of came up this morning as I was showering. I was thinking, of 1984 and Orwellian dystopian future. And it turns out that it's not really the dystopian future. It's actually
already been here.
Current. It's currently happening. But if you go to Google, like you, Jason, go on your home computer or your laptop at home, you Google something. Say you Google car parts. You're fixing your vehicle.
Yes.
The next time you log into Facebook, regardless of what you log on to Facebook from, probably your phone, but if you log on to Facebook, one of the ads you're going to see on the right-hand side of Facebook is going to be for car parts.
Yep.
How in the heck did they figure that one out? You know why? Because they're monitoring everything you do online.
Yeah. Where you go. You've gone to the grocery store, so you must want to see ads about bread. So
that would actually be a really interesting test.
Well, people have seen that.
Really?
They've gone to I don't know, I think it was something, it was a story about a guy with eyeglasses. He never had eyeglasses before, and he went to pick up his wife's eyeglasses, and then he started getting ads in his Amazon feed and on his Google for eyeglass sales, online eyeglass sales. It's
really?
I never even searched on eyeglasses because I don't wear eyeglasses. But he went to there and picked him up.
He must have logged into their public Wi-Fi or something.
Well, Google tracks everywhere you go now. If you have a phone, you have Google Maps on it, or you have an Android phone, and they just look, he spent 20 minutes at an eyeglass place. Must want eyeglasses. Why else would he stay at an eyeglass place?
Do you have the tracking enabled on your phone?
Of course, because I use Google Maps.
Really? I don't.
You don't use the Google Maps?
No, I will use Google Apps, but I never allow it to track my location.
It doesn't really matter. They're tracking you anyways. You can tell them, don't track me. It doesn't do anything. They're still going to track you.
I'm sure that it does. I was told years ago, I played in a hockey league. I still play in a hockey league at Naval Academy.
Yeah.
Right. This guy who was the captain of one of the teams that I played on, he was an attorney, but he was a forensic attorney. And so years ago, he had made the comment to a whole group of us because he had just gotten back from somewhere. He was like a corporate attorney, but he did forensics, so electronic forensic stuff for them.
Yes.
So he would go, if a company was accused of some impropriety, and they shredded all their documentation, he would go in after the fact, take all their electronic equipment and dig through it and try to find evidence of whatever it was.
Yeah.
And his comment to everybody in the locker room was, he had just gotten back from the Middle East or something where some contracting company did a bunch of illegal stuff and tried to hide it and destroy stuff. But he said, if you do anything electronically ever, there is a record of it. He said, you might think you've deleted something. You might think you've wiped your hard drive. You might think that, wherever that email went, that computer's been destroyed. It doesn't matter. He says, that stuff exists somewhere. And he says, never, ever, ever think that anything you do online is private. Anything you do online, anything you do on your phone, anything you do on your computer can be found by somebody. So
Right.
you have to live your life as though whatever you do on those devices or things is going to be viewable to everyone.
That's
And
why
so I've always kind of lived that way. I anticipate that everything that I've done is being seen by somebody.
Right. That's why all the government secret computers, classified ones, they all have those stringent rules. No connection to the internet.
Yeah.
You can't plug anything in. You can't unplug anything. You've got to wipe the hard drives multiple times and then burn them. So
when we were in Afghanistan, we weren't even allowed. We were closing our office in that particular area of the country, and we did a lot of data transfer because we were collecting a lot of ISR information, and the only way to transfer it while we were there was on hard drives. So the hard drives all became classified, right?
Right.
So we had thousands of hard drives that had been used over the several years. This particular site had been open since 2004, I think. So this was 2014. So 10 years, basically 10 years of hard drives for data transfers, kind of back and forth and back and forth. And so when we were closing down, it's like, well, what do you do with all these hard drives? Well, we couldn't sign them over to anybody because a lot of them are old anyway.
Yeah.
So what we ended up having to do is we had to take the physical, because this is when they were still in like metal cases and stuff. We had to take the cases apart, take the hard drives out.
Yeah.
The hard drives we had to degauss,
Right.
which we did. But even then, they were still considered classified because they had been connected to a classified network.
Right.
So we had to take those hard drives. They had to be kept in a safe. Then we had to put them into sealed containers. We had to take them ourselves over to what's called, we called it the Dermo Yard, but it's basically like the Defense Logistic Agency. They have on any large military post, they have one of these places, but it's where you would go to dump your garbage, but not like your normal garbage, but things like, filing cabinets and trucks that you want to get rid of and stuff like that. All that stuff goes to the DLA.
Okay.
So they have a giant shredder over there.
Yeah.
And when I say a giant shredder, I mean, it was run by like a 6-cylinder diesel engine. The thing was enormous.
Okay.
And we had to go to this shredder ourselves. We weren't even allowed to hand over the sealed boxes to DLA employees. We had to go back into the thing and actually shred all these hard drives ourselves. They had a conveyor belt. It wasn't really long, but it went up to a little hopper, and we literally had to load these hard drives one by one onto this conveyor belt and just watch them go over the thing into the hopper and get shredded. And when they came out, they were almost like powder.
Oh, wow.
But that's how we had to destroy them. There was no other way. So that's the only way, really, to ensure that nobody is going to get that information.
Right, yeah.
So that's really all I had on China. I couldn't really, but I couldn't help it. That's all I was thinking about this morning on my way into work, yeah.
Yeah, because it does make you a little nervous. But they're doing it here. It's just funny how it gets such outrage against the Chinese. But here, they track us all the time. But we hand it over just for convenience. I don't have to log in at home and then log in here and not have my saved internet sites not available to me.
Right.
So,
I mean,
here is our penthouse recording suite, by the way. But anyways, continue on.
Some of that stuff doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Facebook and Amazon and Google, I know that they're tracking everything that you do on those sites. What bothers me is the physical surveillance, basically. Oh, yeah, that bothers me.
Why does that bother you? Just makes you feel uncomfortable?
It makes me feel very uncomfortable. It's not that, you can walk outside. Say you're walking down the street in New York City. You could have 1,000 people looking at you.
Yeah.
You would never know it.
Right.
But I think that it makes me uncomfortable to know if I were living in a surveillance state such as that, it would make me very uncomfortable to know that the government is doing something specifically to monitor me physically. It's almost like if you committed a crime and you were under surveillance and you knew you were under surveillance, that would probably make you very uncomfortable. Not that I've committed a crime. I guess that's probably a bad analogy, but
I don't know. I just assume that they're already tracking me anyways. Everywhere you go, they're tracking you somehow. It's easy to piece all the pieces back together.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, everywhere you go. I mean, they have the police cars now. They scan everybody's license plate as they're driving down the road. They've had that for years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're driving and they're scanning and things pop up on their screen whether you want it or not. So they already track you that way. Everywhere you use your credit card, that tracks you.
Yeah.
If you ride the metro, you have to have a linked card. You can't get anonymous cards anymore to ride. gotta get those cards now.
Yeah, you can't buy those in cash anymore, can
No,
you? You have to use a credit card.
Yeah, and everywhere you go, it's just the same thing. Now they're doing all the facial recognition stuff too, and they say that's not that good yet, but.
Well, it's funny, facial recognition stuff. There are companies who are operating in China who are claiming that they can identify you within like a 99.9% accuracy
Right.
rating. But I was thinking to myself, wait a second. If China has like 1.4 billion people,
Yeah,
and they can only track you within 99.9% accuracy, that means they still have like a 14 million chance that they're wrong. I mean, that's like the entire population of LA and New York.
That's still a lot of right, though.
That's still a lot of right. Well, it's funny, like casinos use this, and they've been using it for at least a couple of decades. Yeah. This facial recognition stuff. If you're a gambler, you need to know that, especially if you're a repeated gambler, you go back to casinos a lot. The casino has a file on you.
Yeah,
they know what games you play. They know how often you play. They know what your betting history is like, especially if you're playing a table game. And they can identify you as soon as you walk in the door. They know what you're drinking. They know everything about you. That is scary. That's one of the reasons I don't go to casinos, other than the fact that I don't like to gamble.
They do the same thing as like Google. They'll use that information, and when you come in, they'll say, "Hello, Mr. Monster. It's great that you're back again. Do you want your same suite? And here's the drink that you always like." And you're like, "Hey, yippee!" They know me, and they love me so much because they remember all this stuff. And here they're just writing it down. He's going to play blackjack, and he's going to lose $50 the first day. So let's go ply him with some extra drinks, so he loses $100.
Yeah. Whereas, back in the 70s and in the 80s, they did that kind of stuff, but it was all because people remembered you.
Yeah. Now it's all computerized.
Now it's all computerized. They have facial recognition software that would just pick you out. They just know it's you.
Yeah.
And that's frightening.
So our friend from Africa, we're hoping to get him on the show soon. Yeah. He has some good stories. He is very concerned about that kind of stuff. And he has struggled hard to keep his stuff off of the internet and all kinds of stuff. I'm not sure how hard he has struggled, because he was telling me this one. He's like, none of my stuff should be out there. I'm very careful with everything I do. And I said, well, let's see what we can find. So I sat down and got into Google and it's like, well, there's your address. These are all the people that have lived in your house.
Oh my gosh, he must have freaked out.
Oh, it still freaks him out. And this was a couple months ago. So I told him, like, you're going about it all wrong. You can't try and keep your stuff out there.
Yeah, put it everywhere.
Get there. You have to put out loads of fake data, and that's the only way to trick it. So we put in my names, like, look, in our city, there's like 50 Jasons. It's like, there's a lot of us. If you look in the country, great, it was wonderful that my parents gave me a very common name, but there's hundreds of us all over the country. Same age, just because I had a very popular name. Now, his name is very unique, so it's easy to pick him out. Well,
he's also from Africa.
Yeah, well, there's other people from Africa.
I know, but I'm just saying, he actually has it like an African name, so it's very easy to pick that out.
Yeah, I guess mine is very European.
Yes.
So, very European country.
Man.
But still, that's the only other way you can do it right now. So you can't have just like one phone. You've got to have multiple phones. You got to carry them around and put them in other people's cars so it thinks you're going to other places.
That's totally something you would do.
Multiple email accounts.
Do you have a cell phone taped under my car somewhere?
It's not underneath.
It's not underneath, it's inside?
It's under the seat.
It's the last time you ride in my car, man.
Well, I have to run more time because I got to get it out.
So, kind of on a little side note, that episode where we talked about our African friend and about movies that we think that people who are moving to this country should watch.
Yes.
And that was, I think it was episode 11, and it was called Welcome to America, Watch Dumb and Dumber.
Right.
The film Dumb and Dumber, which is totally awesome. That's still our best downloaded episode. I'm shocked by that. We've had much better episodes than that. Actually, I guess that's not true. I guess the Armenian genocide episode is probably our best downloaded episode.
Well, that was probably our most professional one.
Yes, that was our most professional one, and it was the one that I think hit a very particular niche.
It struck a lot of chords.
Exactly, and it was right around the time of the protests and everything, so I think that got a lot of play because of that.
Well, that was like 6 months in the planning, too. So we put a lot of effort into that one. The one today is flying by the seat of our pants.
Like the
here.
one today?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, shower thoughts, okay? Shower thoughts. That's what led to the episode today. We're actually even recording a day late.
It's Friday.
It's
My
Friday.
son told me that.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Yeah.
Anyways, so since you mentioned movies.
Yeah.
Movies.
Uh-oh.
Again, you dropped the ball on this one. I just saw in the news this morning. No, last night.
Don't even tell me
night.
A Quiet Place 2.
You got it. They're coming out with a sequel.
A movie that, we should totally watch it and review that one as well, just for the sheer ridiculousness.
I hope John Krasinski comes back.
Well, I'm sure he's going to come back to direct it. I'm sure.
Oh, no, they don't have a director yet. I think that was the thing. Like, they're ready to shoot the movie, or they've shot some of it. They don't have a director yet.
How can you shoot some of the movie without a director?
Well, if you're just walking around quietly in the woods, you don't need a whole lot of direction.
Walk like this.
No, walk over here.
Be quieter.
Walk over here. Let's go shoot some cornfields. Maybe they're eating the corn this time.
We're not talking about this movie.
But I did look up, too. There's a lot of deaths every year from people dying in corn silos.
Corn bins, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
it's
does
unfortunate.
happen. Yeah.
They get sucked down in there when they turn on the...
I told you that happened to somebody I went to high school with, and I felt really bad at the time because it happened while I was in high school. Young man was in a grain mixer.
Let's move on from that.
Yeah, definitely. That's it's a morbid topic. But no, I don't know if I'll watch that movie because
Quiet Place 2?
I don't think I will. Because if I do, it's always worse than the first one, and I had a hard time digesting the first one. Crazy Irish got in touch with us the other day.
Yeah.
He made the comment that he was listening to the last, I guess wasn't the last one was Australia, but the Quiet Place or A Quiet Place review episode.
Yes.
He was listening to it.
Thin pants, thin plot.
Thin pants, thin plot. And he listened to the first 20 minutes of it because all we did was talk about pants. But as soon as he got the review, he said he had to stop because he hadn't seen it. So he was going to go back and watch the movie so he could listen to the rest of it.
Oh, I hope you send us some feedback.
I'll reach out to him and see what he has to say about it. But yeah, so Crazy Irish got in touch with us again. And interestingly enough, he's actually going to be in town coming up pretty soon. He mentioned that he was going to be in Baltimore in the beginning of November, so within a month. And I thought, that might be a good idea to have him come on the show for a little bit of a segment.
People who request to be on the show?
Well, he didn't really request it, but I thought,
You're just going to force him?
No, but the mere fact that he's been a fan for a while and he's been, interacting with us fairly regularly.
You don't want to open the door to that kind of behavior.
I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Because he might be totally insane. We don't know.
Could be. But he's listening to this.
Are you totally insane, Crazy Irish from Florida? I don't know. We'll see.
Have you ever had to take one of those? Have you ever had to talk to a, psychologist to have them determine if you are insane? Have you ever had to take one of those tests?
This is a very probing question.
I didn't ask if you passed or failed.
I don't know if I want to answer.
If you ever had to take one. Anyways, we'll skip on that. So I had to take one. So because my daughter,
God, why did you have to take one?
My daughter's adopted. So
right.
In part of the adoption process, you have to go to a psychologist, and they make you take this test, you and your spouse, about are you crazy or not? Because they don't want to give you a child if they test out that you're crazy.
Yeah, they don't want to give you a child if you test to be crazy, but it's perfectly okay for you to have your own.
Well, that's because you got to deal with your own crazy.
Again.
But the questions on the test, if you have any reasonable thoughts of not being crazy, it's easy to pass the test. It only catches the people that are really way out there. It's questions, because some of the questions are like, are you friends with the people that are pictured on the magazines that you get in the mail? Or have you had any thoughts about causing mayhem in your neighborhood? And
I cause mayhem in my neighborhood all the time.
It's very straightforward questions. There are no trick questions. It wasn't anything like if I answer A, B, and C in this way, they're going to know that I need some help. It's just, do you think you need mental help? If you put no, then they're just going to say, okay, you passed. It's that kind of test.
Huh.
Because we were kind of nervous going in. Like, what if it's like some tricky thing and we're going to miss it? Or they make you take the test at the same time, but they also make you take a test separate from your spouse. So part of it, I think you can be It's kind of like, did you have to take a test when you got married? Did you ever go through any marriage prep classes where they check your compatibility?
No, we did have to have sessions with our pastor, the pastor that married us.
Okay.
But we will go over that in a minute. But no, we didn't have to take a test.
So we had to take a test like that too. Or it wasn't like you failed, you don't get married kind of. It's just kind of like mapping out how well you get together. But it was like that. Like you take a test together and you answer questions together. Then they separate you and then they give you a different kind of test. And it's kind of like, does your intended spouse ever beat you or things like that?
It's like a really crappy edition of the dating game.
Yeah, right. But if I'm going to put yes on there, I mean, I guess it's sad that you might get yourself into that position. Anyways.
Yeah, so really, no, I've never had to take a test like that. Have I been evaluated for things? Yes. I've had to sit down with, and I'll never forget this. I had to sit down with this psychiatrist. Won't divulge the reasoning behind why I had to do this.
We know it's because you're a spy. It's okay.
That's fine. This is when I was 18 years old, and it was a woman, and she asked me in the beginning. She says, "Do you have difficulty remembering things?" I said no, and I said that's part of the problem. Is that most of the time stuff gets in there and it just rattles around and it keeps me awake all the time. And so she said, "Well, I'm going to give you 3 words," and she gave me 3 words. And we went through this whole thing, and I had to meet with this same woman a week later. And she asked me, she says, "Do you remember the 3 words that I said to you last week?"
Yeah.
And I said, yes. They were plant, pencil, and red. She says, okay. So those were the 3 words, right? I'll never forget them. I have no idea why I'll never forget them. But that was like part of some weird evaluation thing they were doing, if I'm going to remember these 3 random words in order. But
you should track her down and ask her, I still remember it. What's it mean today?
Yeah, it means absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
But it was, stuff gets in there, gets in the brain, and it just rattles around.
It falls out of that filing cabinet.
Exactly. It just rattles around in there.
Surprised you were able to pull that out, though.
No, it's one of those extremely vivid.
Taped to the front of the file cabinet.
It's one of those extremely vivid memories that I have. I mean, a lot of my memories, like when I think back, to things, a lot of them are extremely vivid and visual. Like I can actually see what was going on. I could see sometimes what I was wearing, what I was doing, where I was. I can remember the smells and if it was breezy or sunny or cloudy or rainy or whatever. But then other stuff just disappears, falls out of the cabinet onto the floor somewhere, gets swept underneath the couch that's in the room, whatever. There's almost no rhyme or reason to it. So, no, I've never really... Oh, I have a question for you. Have you ever taken an IQ test?
I did one of those online ones. I don't know if I trust the results, though.
Well, certainly, if it was a free one...
It was a free one. It was long. I mean, it took me an hour or something.
And they should take a little while. But
I think they just wanted my money at the end.
In some cases...
Because it said I was a really smart guy.
Says
what
you're
if
really
they just tell everybody they're really smart? Because it says, oh, you want to join our smart club? Send us $20 and you get a certificate. Yeah. It's like, well, now I feel like it was a waste of time.
Yeah, I think some of those places are like that. And some of them are totally legit. I mean, but of course, all IQ tests are biased a little bit anyway. If you were to apply for an agency job, so we'll say like the CIA or something, they actually perform an IQ test on you.
So I'd like to remember they did one in Seinfeld. Do you remember that?
I don't particularly remember that episode, no.
Well, anyways, they portrayed it as a lady came to this apartment with like a manila envelope full of test sheets and pencils and said, here's your IQ test. That's the kind of IQ test I'd like to take, where it's like, it feels legitimate.
You can go to places. There are places you can go to and take a test, just like taking your GRE or something, but do you really want to know what the results are?
I think I would. I'm just too lazy to go do that. That would be fun, though.
But in the Seinfeld episode, didn't George score like an 80?
It
was really low.
Yeah.
And I think he was all up in arms because he considered it like a biased test or something, so that it wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Like agencies like the CIA administer a test, but it's specifically for like language recognition stuff. So they make up like gobbledygook languages, stuff that's not even real, and they basically test your ability to be able to figure things out analytically. Yeah, it's actually entertaining, I think.
Maybe I have to look up one. I wonder how much it costs to do one of those.
I don't think it's expensive. I mean, maybe $100, maybe less. I mean, I don't know, because you literally just go to one of these testing centers and you test. But what's the point?
Just for
really.
fun.
It's really exactly. It's just for fun.
Yeah.
And is that the kind of thing? If it's the kind of thing you want to like brag about
Yeah.
with your friends,
I don't know if I would do that.
exactly. Then you're just going to be a jerk.
Yeah.
You know, if you end up with a high IQ,
Yeah.
then you have this knowledge that you have a high IQ. Are you going to keep it to yourself? If you tell anybody else, people are just going to think you're a jerk. But
I think it would rule out, though, if you have a low IQ. I think that would be the main thing. Because if you have a low IQ, you have one perspective on the world, and you're missing out on a lot of stuff. But if you have a high IQ, then chances are you're not missing out on that much stuff.
So this goes back to the Dunning-Kruger discussion we had several episodes ago about people who are really not smart think that they're really smart.
Right.
But the people who are really smart think that they're not very smart.
Yeah.
It's like an opposite curve.
It'd be good to know which one you fall in.
I'm pretty sure I'm right in the middle of the pack somewhere. I don't think I'm any smarter than
Yeah.
the average person.
But then you might not be. Maybe you're the low end and you think you're shooting above your weight class.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah, maybe I am. I don't think that's true.
Too many headers playing soccer.
Too many knocks to the head playing hockey. Too many headers playing soccer.
Yeah.
You know, too many door frames to the cranium. You know, whatever.
I mean, we were able to stay laser focused on our topics here, so I don't think that's a problem. Anyways, back to what you were talking about with the Google tracking. For as much, this just hit me. So, as much as they track us, you'd think they would be able to suggest better things for us. At least give us something better, right? So, I've started trying out Apple Music. Have you tried that? You pay them a fee and you get access to all their songs. In their
I've never
database.
used Apple Music personally, but we use an app at home. We use Spotify.
I tried Spotify. I wasn't crazy about it.
That's all right.
It was just weird to find and stuff. I would download, I'd say, hey, I want this album. And I would you have to find a playlist for it. And then people would mix in their other stuff that they wanted.
Yeah.
So you're listening all of a sudden, and then you get
something that's not from the album.
Yeah, we're listening to the Aladdin soundtrack, and you get some guy who sounds like Aladdin rapping about bananas or something. So we switched to the Apple one, because then you just go and get the album.
Yeah.
You just save the album over. But it also gives you recommendations based on things that you've liked or listened to play on this suggested like radio station kind of thing. Now I've gone through and I've made playlists for my kids because I just got the family version just because the kids are asking for music on their stuff. And it may be because of this a little bit because kids, they like that poppy music, not stuff that I would typically listen to. But I keep getting all these recommendations for like 90s R&B music. Like, what is this? Or I don't know, I
mean like Boys to Men and stuff like that, like late 80s, early 90s stuff.
Yeah, that or
Belle Biv
rap
DeVoe.
rock, a lot of that too. Like live versions of rap rock,
like Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, and Korn. It's like, what is this? I've never listened to this in my life. What is this? It usually comes on at like the most inopportune times. Like it'll just like I'll get in the car and I'll turn it on and it just starts blasting this weird music.
Yeah, because that's what your kids need to listen to is I Did It All for the Nookie.
This was terrible
Totally
too.
Appropriate.
It also plays, I don't know what the deal is with my phone. I don't know if because I have an iPhone. Do you have an iPhone too? I don't think, maybe we talked about this. Talked about it to somebody else maybe. But it just randomly starts to play music at quiet times. So like I was standing in line at parent-teacher conference and it just starts blasting out music. Like, and the volume's cranked all the way up. So thanks for that. Or I was walking through church the one day. I'm walking through and I hear this music playing. And this lady was walking behind me. I was like, that lady needs to turn her phone off.
And turns
She's
out
like,
it was you.
What are you listening to? I was like, oh, crud, it's my phone. It just turned itself on. So now I just make sure I just turn it completely off when I get into those situations.
I actually have a smartwatch that I use really just for health tracking. It's really not for anything else, but it's synced to my phone. And after I'd gotten the smartwatch, I hadn't figured out yet how to put it into like sleep mode. So if I were sleeping, so that it wouldn't alert me that I had texts or phone calls or anything. So I woke up in the middle of the night to music playing, actually quite loudly, and it was coming from downstairs in the house. And I woke my wife up, and I'm like, "Do you hear that?" And she's like, "Yeah. What is it?" Went downstairs. It was my darn phone. Because my my watch will sync to like the music player, and I can like play music and stop music and whatever just from my smartwatch. I must have activated it while I was like rolling
Middle of the
around at
night?
night or whatever, and turned it on. And oh man, I was first of all freaked out a little bit. Knew there wasn't anyone in the house, because if somebody was in the house, the last thing they would do is start playing music, right?
Very loudly, yeah.
So kind of freaked me out a little bit. But then I figured out that next morning how to turn that function off.
That's good.
Do you have any other topics? You said you had a couple
I
of.
have one more. Do you want to go into it real quick? Or do you
We
want
can.
All right, real quick. So we did our last episode on Australia.
Aussie,
for
Aussie,
our
Aussie.
Australian fans.
Oi, oi, oi.
So I have a request out to any Japanese fans that we have that speak English. So I've told you.
I know some very specific people.
Do you?
That actually live in Japan. They're Americans live in Japan.
This is making me very happy. We've talked about pens and paper.
Oh God.
Right. So it was
you and
time.
your obsession with the podcast about pens
Yeah.
and paper.
So I have this website where I go and I get my supplies from. Well, my pencil, it's getting old. I need to get a new pencil. So I'm researching different pencils, right? And figured, well, it's time to get a new notebook because my notebook was full. So I went to the site. It's discontinued. They don't make my notebook anymore.
Oh my gosh.
They sell loose paper, and they sell it in like a 30-sheet notebook, but I like the 90-sheet notebook. So if we have any people in Japan that can go to their Japanese stationery store, because they're all over the place. Well, I wouldn't say all over the place. They're in the bigger cities. I'm looking for a very specific notebook. Right? I mean, yesterday I spent a lot of time comparing different notebooks to find out which one might fit my need next. You got to look at this kind of stuff. How smooth the paper is, the drying time of the ink, bleed through, line spacing.
I'm fully aware right now that our fans cannot see me.
Can't see what?
I'm not totally crazy. They can't see me, but I'm shaking my head a lot.
I prefer the 6mm line spacing over the 7.
I cannot believe we are having this discussion about your notebook paper.
It's important.
Dude, just go to the stationery store and find a new one.
I don't have them over there.
I don't mean a new one that fits in your particular notebook. I mean, just find a new.
It blocks my creativity.
How long have you been using this particular notebook?
A couple years.
See, it's only
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. What did you use before that?
Terrible ones.
Well,
the last time I had to buy like
one.
10 new ones and test them all out. So I wrote in one page of all the notebooks. This isn't going to work. So then I had like 10 notebooks laying around because I didn't want to just chuck them. I don't want to kill the environment. So I've been giving them out, ripping that one page out and giving them out to.
Just give them to your kids.
Well, they're nice notebooks. They don't appreciate the goodness that they're getting. I did give one to my son this year, though, because he's getting to that age.
My younger daughter loves notebooks. She writes a lot.
Yeah.
Like creative writing stuff. Like she'll write a book.
Yes. Yeah, my kids do that too.
And she'll use, it's surprising. She actually tore out like 10 pages of her notebook, and it's full, front and back, of writing for the story that she was writing. And this is my child who hates to read, but yet loves to write.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. It's very cute. I wasn't allowed to read it, so I have no idea what the story's about. But the fact that she wrote like 10 pages front and back was quite shocking to me.
Anyways, Kokuyo, that is the name of the notebook. Although they have a whole line. It's
Kokuyo.
A long name. Kokuyo, Campus, High Grade, Mio.
Well, I played in a band for a number of years, and the
Blue, 6mm.
The guy who was the bass player / keyboard player / saxophone player moved to Japan.
Did he?
20 years ago. Almost
still there?
20 years ago. Yes, he lives in Tokyo, in the Tokyo area. And I'm still in touch with him. I could send a message to him and ask him to look for this particular notebook. And if he finds one, maybe
order a case.
Just maybe, he might send some to you. I think he listens to the show. So
if he can tell me the shop to order it from and what I need to write Japanese characters. But yeah, well, usually when I order it, it takes like a month or something to get here. Because it's coming from all the way over there.
Whoa, all the way over in Japan.
Yeah, it's a ways over there.
It's a ways over there. 12 time zones away.
But they know their paper.
Hey, man, they used to make their houses out of this stuff. I think they know their paper.
It would be fun to live in I do like their architecture. And their rice window doors that slide and simplicity.
You're talking about old school Japanese architecture. You're not talking about modern Japanese architecture.
You don't make paper skyscrapers.
No, but they still make they'll make modern houses that still have like paper doors.
Yeah,
stuff that's still common. But the houses are no longer made out of They don't. I mean, you might still find some places like that are out in like the rural areas, but like modern construction, I don't think they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Maybe we'll do an episode on Japan. I do like their
I love Japan. Yeah.
culture and stuff.
I was a big fan of like medieval Japan, the whole samurai code thing and the Edo period of Japan. I read a book called Shogun by an author named James Clavell. They made a movie out of
Japanese.
It. What, Shogun?
Clavell.
James Clavell? That's totally not a Japanese name. But he wrote several novels, historically based novels, fiction.
Oh.
One of which was called Shogun, and it was basically about the emergence of the Edo period of Japan. I think it's actually the full name is Shogun, a novel of Japan, I think is what
you said it was very big, didn't you?
Oh, it's super big, and it's long. And
wow.
It's long-winded, but it's fabulous.
Yeah?
As far as its imagery. I mean, Clavell was a fabulous author, but one of those ones you have to really want to read the book. You can't just like pick it up at the airport and think, I'll read this while I'm traveling, because that's just not how it's going to work.
Is this like the one where you gave me before, and it was the guy walking down the hallway of the building, and he was describing like all of the tile on the wall and how the floor was and the sound echoing, and it was like 10 minutes of description of this hallway that he spent one scene in? The one with the bioweapons story.
Oh, the demon in the freezer?
Yeah, don't read that one.
That was a great book, man.
I got about 10 pages into that.
That's a great book. For anybody who's into like bioweaponry or biological weapons research, you need to read the book. If
you're on the edge, don't, because it'll turn your stomach. That was rough. But you gave it to me as a paperback too, and those papers it just doesn't. It's hard to hold in your hand.
Lord, I think that's going to tear it for today. And I'm not talking about paper products anymore. So
good, because I need to go find me a replacement.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's all for today.
Well, thank you very much, Chaos fans, for tuning in to another edition of Conversational Chaos. It was a lot of fun this morning, considering it was totally 100% off the script, just based on shower thoughts. But please feel free to send us emails to conversationalchaos@gmail.com. Twitter, Instagram.
Are you doing on the Twitter?
I'm not doing it on the Twitter, but I'm Instagramming. I've been on Instagram.
Go to the Twitter if you want to have some silence.
Yes, if you want a quiet place, go to our Twitter feed. But if you are interested in interaction, I'm definitely up on Instagram. Haven't posted in about a week, but it's because I've been really busy. So
happens.
I got to take care of that. So that will be it for today. Thanks everybody for listening, and we look forward to the next episode.
Bye.